Hi, welcome to Bake It Mum at hampshirecookerydemonstrations.co.uk. Today we're going to do one of my favourite recipes, which is taken from one of my favourite recipe books. I have got hundreds of recipe books, which I love, but there's not many that I would recommend as a must. But this one is one of them. Nigella Lawson's How to Be a Domestic Goddess. She's got lots of fab books, but this is the one that I would recommend if you want to start baking cakes. It's a lovely book. She makes it really easy, she makes it really simple, and there is some really quirky ideas in there. So this is the book that the recipe's been taken from. And what we're going to bake today is lemon drizzle loaf cake. You can do it in a square tin, about an 18cm square tin, I think the recipe says, but I always make it in a loaf tin. And I am quite lazy, I'm afraid, you've probably realised. I use these, they're absolutely brilliant. You can get them from places like Lakeland Plastics. I got mine from TK Maxx, brilliant. But yeah, they're just slot in. Other than that, you're going to have to get your greaseproof paper and your scissors out and line your tin. It's what I've always done really up until recently when I started using those, but they are great. So that's what you need, is a loaf tin. Again, back with my mixer, but you don't need a mixer, a bowl and a spoon is fine. This is my lazy tool. Get stirring. Okay, so first thing I want to do is turn the oven on to about 180. Again, I think the recipe says 160 in there, but I do it at 180. I don't know whether it's my oven, but 160 it just seems to take forever. Okay. As always, the details of the recipe will be on Bake It Mum at hampshirecookerydemonstrations.co.uk or bakeitmum.co.uk, whichever's easiest. So we're going to start by creaming the butter and the sugar together. All the measurements are on the website. I'm just going to bung that in. And the sugar. Now again, the recipe states caster sugar. A lot of baking recipes state caster sugar, but it's not a must. I know my sister used to do a lot of baking in a country where you couldn't get caster sugar, so she did all of these recipes with the normal sugar, and I tend to do the same. It wouldn't stop me doing a recipe not having the caster sugar. So we're just going to cream that together until it's nice and fluffy, and then we're going to be adding the eggs. I think I've mentioned before with eggs, I always like to add them with a little bit of flour just to stop it curdling, rather than just throwing it all in at once. So we're going to put 2 eggs in there. Just going to give them a bit of a whip before I put them in. The beauty of doing this with a mixer is that it is really quick and less work on the old arm. So I'm just going to give that a real whip now, and it's really nice and fluffy. So again, I'm going to put my eggs in. I like to put in half at a time with a spoon of the flour. You can do it all at once, I think, but I do it the way I've always done it. And then this is where, once I start adding the flour, it's where I put the guard on, because it just gets messy. Okay, so I'm going to add the rest of the eggs now, and start adding the flour. That's great. This recipe also calls for milk, 4 tablespoons of milk going in there. Turn that off for a second while I add in the rest of the flour. That's self-raising flour. There's no other raising agents in this recipe. It's just the use of self-raising flour. And I'm just going to mix that all together until it's really nice and gooey. Now, the other thing that we need is some lemon zest. And what I'm going to show you is the best tool for using a lemon zest. Here, I'm back. Sorry, I left it on the table. This is a microplane. Let's turn it off for a second. A microplane. And it's basically a fine grater with a posh name. But again, I don't like to necessarily recommend things because I think you can always make do with generally what's in your kitchen. But there are certain things that I just think, oh, this is so lovely to use. These are great. I've had cheaper ones before and they've not been particularly good. I've cut myself on them. I don't know what it is, but these are brilliant. They've got a really nice grip on them. They're well worth the investment. You can get them for you'll get a good one of these for between £15 and £20. Luckily, a friend of mine bought me this many years ago. It's lasted, I must have had this now 10 years and it's still as good as it ever was. So there you go, there's my lecture on the microplane. So all we're going to do now is just add some lemon, start adding a bit of the lemon, and we want the zest of one lemon in there. So you just go all the way around with it. Just make sure that you don't repeat this on the white pith underneath because that won't be very tasty. Okay, just give it a dab. And that's it, you're pretty much almost done there. I'm just going to mix that zest in so it's all nice and mixed. Perfect. And then I've just got to transfer it into the bowl. So it's amazing how once you've got everything organised and you start, it really does only take a few minutes to bake a cake. And a few minutes to eat it if you live in this house. So, we've got no Isabel here today to be licking the bowls. So, I could either do it myself or not bother. So, I probably will not bother. Okay, so again, if you are using a mixer of any type, it's always just worthwhile just scraping around the edges just a little bit, just to make sure that the mixer hasn't missed mixing in some of that flour. So there, can you see the consistency? It's lovely and sort of sticks to the spoon, but it will drop off eventually. Really nice consistency there. I'm just going to transfer it into the loaf tin. Before we stick it in the oven. Now, it usually, I think the recipe states about 50 to 55 minutes. I don't really like giving times, particularly because I think a lot of it depends on your oven. Ovens do vary so much that it's difficult to say. So the best test is always going to be a skewer. You want it to be nice and lovely and golden brown, and the skewer should come out clean. So, like I said, you're looking at around about the 50-minute mark. You don't want to be opening the oven unless you really feel it's absolutely ready before then. The idea and the trick behind cakes rising and doing what they should do is that the temperature is right when it goes in. So you should follow what it says, really, although I've just told you that I'm not. And that it remains consistent. That's the most important, is consistency. So don't be over keen and opening and closing the door, because your cake will it won't do anything, won't do what it's supposed to. So there we have it. That's a lemon cake, done and in the oven. Okay, so what I'm going to show you now, we've done the cake, we now need to do the drizzle, okay, which is just so easy. All you need is a pan, we've got there, and the zest, sorry, not the zest, the juice of a lemon and a half. And more it is by coincidence, it's not through anything other than that. I'm using Nigella's lemon squeezer, which is very nice. But you can get lemon squeezers, again, you don't need to go out and buy anything posh, just you can get a plastic one, probably about 50p you could get a lemon squeezer from. So yeah, just try and get all the juice out of there. I always think it's great that the recipe is a lemon and a half, because then it leaves half for the gin and tonic, as Nigella would say. Okay, so I just need one more half of this. Give it a squeeze. And you can make this and then just leave it until you're ready to drizzle it on your cake in 50 minutes, whatever that may be. Okay, and then we've got in here 100 grams of icing sugar. I am all for cutting corners if you can, but with icing sugar, it's not worth it. You must always sieve your icing sugar, otherwise you'll end up with lumps everywhere. Not as vital in this recipe because you're going to heat it and be stirring it, but I would just take the time anyway. You don't want to be stuck with a lump that you just can't get rid of, unless you're married in. Anyway, There you go. So you just pour your juice over, stick the pan on a really low heat, and what you're looking for is for the ice and sugar to melt into the lemon juice, and there you've done it. You've got your drizzle. I'm just going to give it a stir. I think with ice and sugars it does puff everywhere, but it's unfortunately a bit of a necessity. You can do this with just pure sugar, and it just gives you a bit of a crispier drizzle to put on there. But I'm sticking with Nigella today and going with the ice and sugar. So that's all melting in there. All we've got to do now is wait for the cake. So, as always, I'll be back with you in a little while. Take care. Hi, back. Only briefly, cake's still in the oven. I mentioned very flippantly before about the half a lemon that was left being ready for gin and tonic later on. I'm not having a gin and tonic later on, it's Monday night. But it is quite hard to know what to do with half a lemon. And we do like gin and tonics in our house at some point. So what I've come back to tell you is that if you just get a knife and chop this into rings, you can put it into the freezer. Just put it in a little freezer bag and it freezes perfectly. And then when you are ready to have a gin and tonic, you can just, and you don't have a lemon, you can just go to your freezer and they're all in the little bag there. So I'm earning myself brownie points for my husband. So there you have it. Lemon in the freezer, ready for the gin and tonic. All part of making a lemon drizzle cake. Bonus. Okay, I'll see you in a bit, probably about half an hour. Hi, and welcome back. Right, about 45 minutes have passed since we put the cake in the oven, so it should be ready. So we're just going to take it out and have a little look. Looks lovely. So it's nice and brown. I'm sure that when I put the skewer in and bring it out, it's going to be perfectly clean, which it is. So the only thing left to do now for the lemon cake is add the drizzle. So what you need to do is just get your skewer and randomly put loads and loads of holes in the top of it, basically. Just all the way round, right round the edges. There really is no limit. So just do that. Again, like most of these recipes, I would normally wait a few minutes till it's cooled a little bit before I did the next stage, but for the purpose of the video, I'm just going to go straight on ahead and do it. Okay, so we've got the drizzle that we made a little bit earlier, and it's just a case of really gently drizzling it over the cake. Okay, you hear a little bit of a sizzle there. Okay, this is really lovely. It does tend to go to the sides, which is why you have to do it really carefully so that you've got this lovely syrup all the way through the cake, and you'll see it seeping into the cake. It is quite a moist cake. I like the end bits best because they get most of the drizzle. Okay, so that's gone on there. And then because you've got it in, well, if you have got it in one of these loaf cases, just leave it in the tin till it cools, because otherwise it will fall to pieces until if you get it out too early. If you've got it in a tin that's been greased and lined by cutting the greaseproof paper, I'd take it out in about a quarter of an hour so it doesn't stick to the bottom of the tin. So there you have it, one lemon drizzle cake. Unfortunately, I'm not going to get the pleasure of having it here because it's travelling to Austria tomorrow for a skiing holiday. I don't think it'll see the second day of the skiing holiday, but I'm sure we'll show you a photograph of it being eaten on the slopes at some point later in the week. As we said earlier, all the details of this cake recipe can be found in either the Fab book, Nigella's Domestic Goddess book, or you can visit the website bakeitmum at hampshirecookierydemonstrations.co.uk or bakeitmum.co.uk, whichever's easiest. Hope you have a great day and we'll see you again soon.